What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video here on the Samurai Sports Network. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Miami Dolphins, of course, and more specifically, the situation surrounding Tua Tagovailoa and Deshaun Watson. Now, if you guys have been living under a rock, which frankly I doubt that you have, considering that Miami Dolphins Twitter and just Miami Dolphins fans in general are very, what's the proper word to put it at? Into their team, right? I guess it's the best way to say it. You know, all Dolphins fans are really invested. All Dolphins fans are really into what their team does, whether it's good, bad, ugly, the whole entire lot. And one of the things that have been very, significant over the recent weeks with the Miami Dolphins has been the play of Tua Tagovailoa and the lack thereof offense, in terms of the offense has not been playing well. Nothing has really been going necessarily right for the Miami Dolphins. So everything has had question marks around it, and everything has had kind of what's the future, what's next, right? So we saw that already. The biggest thing that we, were waiting for was Chan Gailey getting fired, although he technically retired. He resigned, and Brian Flores accepted his resignation and ended up saying pretty much that's it. He's going to go into retirement, and we didn't really hear much more about it. It was just kind of, Brian Flores, there was the rumor that he was fired. Then Brian Flores came out and said he expects, and that was the key word, as CK Parrott on Twitter had pointed out, he expects his entire staff to be back. And then, of course, Chan Gailey ends up sending in his resignation, the next day, and here we are. Now, one of the biggest things I think in terms of the offensive coordinator that I want to get into before we get into the Watson-Tua debate debacle thing in general, is that the Dolphins are going to be coaching in the Senior Bowl, which is something that's been extremely significant considering the fact that a lot of teams passed on it. Now, Dolphins fans thought that they had a chance because they had the number 3 pick, and the first two teams are going through coaching changes. However, that was not the case, as pointed out by the Senior Bowl head and on Twitter. And it was then kind of pointed out that a lot of people, and it was reported last night, a lot of teams were passing on the opportunity to coach the Senior Bowl. So the coaches will be Matt Rule's Panthers and the Brian Flores-led Dolphins. So, of course, a lot of Miami Dolphins fans are going to be really into that. Now, some have already gone to point out the last time that the Dolphins were in the Senior Bowl, they ended up making a selection that was not that great over a selection that they could have made that was much better. I don't want to put a lot of negative context into this. However, I think that being able to do the Senior Bowl, especially in a year like 2020 into 2021, where not everything is guaranteed and just in general, things haven't been going the best in the world, is a great opportunity for the Miami Dolphins to be able to look at some players and get to see more of what they are in practice and how they are on the field. So I think it's a great opportunity and wanted to put that out first. But that also means that the Miami Dolphins have probably already an offensive coordinator and the rest of their staff down, because you have to have a complete staff in order to coach in the Senior Bowl, and that is 2 weeks away. So this probably means that either tight end coach is getting promoted, or the Dolphins have someone outside of the organization that they've already pinned to be their next offensive coordinator. So that's going to be one of the biggest ones. Of course, I believe also the defensive line coach is no longer with us. So that means you also either have someone within the organization that you're willing to promote, or you have someone pinned already from outside of the organization. I think everyone thinks that Godsey is going to be the one to get it, the tight end coach who's also been working as the quarterback coach when Robbie Brown had ended up going out because of COVID. So we're probably pinning him there, and we'll be able to see what the offense is going to look like next season, especially considering he spent a lot of time with Tua on the sideline, which is the perfect transition into what are we going to do about this Deshaun Watson versus Tua versus picks versus draft capital versus cap space situation, right? Everyone has their own opinion, and I think that the biggest way and the easiest way to put this, not only for just Dolphins fans and people outside in general, is that the Miami Dolphins are in a very unique situation where the quarterback that they have in place right now could potentially get to that level, and you believe as fans and as an organization that 10 games isn't enough to give to and I believe it was 10 games, it might have been 9, is not enough to give to the chance to kind of show anything. You're not going to evaluate a quarterback within that period of time and really get a good scope on what they can and cannot do, and especially when you were playing with essentially, not the worst guys. I think we all have to remember as fans and analysts and stuff like that is that though some of these players and though some of these people that are out on the field might not be the greatest, they would probably smoke all of us one-on-one because we're just not, and they're football players, and getting to the NFL is a hard process in itself. But playing with guys like Matt Collins, who is a special teamer who ended up being a wide receiver, threw a beautiful pass that he caught actually in the Arizona game to end up essentially being, putting them in the position to win that game. So there's a lot that you kind of forget with the good with Tua, and even with the fact that when he had most of his weapons, he was able to put up some points and make some magic happen. And then when a lot of the weapons went down, as the Dolphins were very thin at, just offensive weapons, injuries, running backs not being there for some period of time, having to work with things that you weren't expecting in a COVID year makes it even harder. So there was a lot for the Dolphins that went against themselves and ended up going against Tua. Now, I think that the big factor here in the Tua versus Watson thing is that there is not a single person in this world that can sit there and say that they would not want Deshaun Watson on their team, unless you're probably the Aaron Rodgers-led Packers and the Kansas City Patrick Mahomes Chiefs. It's just not possible. I mean, Deshaun Watson is a top 4, if not top 3 quarterback in this league. Of course, you can argue him. I think right now, if you had to say, it would be Rodgers, Mahomes, Allen, Watson, in my personal opinion, in that top 4. Rank them however you want. Rodgers would be number 1 in my opinion, and that's just me. I would put Patrick Mahomes 2, and then I would put Watson 3 and Allen 4. But, if that opportunity possesses itself to get a 25-year-old quarterback who's arguably a top 4 quarterback in the NFL, you have to go out and make that opportunity happen. I think that, again, Tua is 22 years old. Deshaun Watson is 25. There's a 3-year difference. Deshaun's already on his second contract. Tua's still on his rookie deal. So there's a lot there that you have to unpack. However, when it comes to cap space, I think that multiple NFL teams and the Kansas City Chiefs specifically have shown us that cap space is just fictional when when you really think about it. You can build in multiple incentives, and there are a lot of other things that can go into a deal in order to make things work, and cap can be moved around in very different ways, right? So I think that with this Deshaun versus Tua thing, one thing that everyone has to remember is that Deshaun Watson is what Dabo Swinney said, Michael Jordan. The dude is an absolute beast, and he performs, and he did so on a very bad Texans team. 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, was lighting it up with people not even knowing because he was on the Texans. And I see a lot of people saying he went 4-12 or whatever it was. I think it was 4-12 specifically, saying that, there isn't a lot that you could want out of a non-winning quarterback to a 1. Now, I do agree there are a lot of games that the Dolphins won because of Tua Tagovailoa this season. However, I also believe that quarterback wins are not a appropriate stat. It's not as if this is the NBA where one player really, really changes. Of course, on the quarterback position it does, but you've seen quarterbacks in a position like Deshaun where if your team is not great, the team is still going to fail no matter what you do, and that's just how it is. We've also seen situations, going back to the Aaron Rodgers, talk, I guess, where without that quarterback, the team is just horrible, and we saw that with the Packers team multiple years that he had been out. So I think the biggest thing that we can put this into, and the biggest perspective I think the Dolphins fans need to have on this, is that either option is fine. Personally, do I think that Deshaun Watson will get traded to the Miami Dolphins? I highly doubt it. You've had a lot of people come out and say that maybe, who knows who's pushing the narrative on Deshaun Watson? Who knows who's doing what? Of course, I think Jacina Anderson had put out that Deshaun is still on vacation. So is this coming from the Dolphins? Is this coming from Deshaun's agent? Is this coming from Deshaun himself telling other people and getting spread throughout the media? I don't think anyone would really know besides Deshaun, his agent, and I guess the closest people to him. It obviously is true that he is, upset, and it's true that he is not in the greatest mindset with the Texans organization, and not Caserio, but more specifically the ownership in Houston. So it'll be a sticky situation and something that all Dolphins fans should keep a track of. Though I think that we all need to remember that, again, and this isn't, again, if anyone had watched my channel, they know that I was a Herbert guy more than I was a Tua guy, and I don't say that to brag. I just say, out of the quarterbacks, I liked Herbert, and I was burnt at the stake every single day for liking Herbert. So I do mention that because, of course, now I have a Tua jersey, and I have, the thing right over there that my friend got me for Christmas. So obviously, I'm supporting my starting quarterback, and I think that Tua can become a top 5 quarterback. I think that the big question becomes, how long will it take for Tua to do that, and how long will it cause a defense or an offense to struggle? Can Deshaun come in and make this team AFC championship contenders next season? I think the clear answer is yes, and I think that the clear answer is that this team becomes a Super Bowl contending team within the 2 seasons, and they're already ahead of schedule in terms of a rebuild. So I think that everyone has to keep tracks of what's happening with Houston and Deshaun Watson. I don't think that it's actually going to become anything. I think that it'll end up being kind of much to do about nothing, as a way to say it. I think it'll just be rumors. Personally, I would like to see him go to the San Francisco 49ers. And then I think that the Dolphins will still end up keeping that number 3 pick, probably trading down eventually within the draft once the draft actually begins. And we'll have more coverage, talking about that and everything like that. For anybody that is new to the channel, thank you. For those of you who stayed around, thank you as well. If you don't follow me on Twitter, I suggest you go do so. That's at Samurai Radio, SAMURAIIRADIO. The link is also down below in the description. And if you look at my pinned tweet, one of the goals that I've set for myself as a content creator and just as someone who, loves my channel and stuff like that, is to post 70 videos on my channel this year. It might seem like a lot, or it might seem like a little to people, especially considering I was posting a lot of videos every single year for multiple years. I think there was times where I'd even gone kind of 90 straight days posting a video. So it seems like a small amount, but that's my goal. This would be 1 out of 70, so we'd have 69 left to go. And yeah, that's just a goal that I've personally set for myself, as well as, making sure that things look very, much more presentable. I've made a better background for videos and live streams that I do. So yeah, I hope you guys did very much enjoy this video. I will see you guys tomorrow, and as always, peace.